Right, so my next job is going to be to put up overhead cabinets up here. Kitchen area is going to be here, and then I'm going to put up an overhead storage cabinet here. So the way I'm going to do this is have three battens, one, two, and one across there, and just hang everything onto that. So I've already cut out this one piece of ply. This is only just 5 mil. That's just going to be just a backing board basically. Yeah, and then I can put cables and things up behind it as well. So that's already cut out and that's going to go there. Incidentally, for insulation, these, I can show you there, these little self-adhesive pins, they're absolute rubbish. They just don't hold. I've tried so many times, I've put tons of them on and yeah, they just give up once they get a little bit hot. That's it. They just think, right, that's it. I've had enough. I'm not sticking anymore, and down they come. So you probably can't see it, but I've marked on this sheet of ply all the best mounting points. So what I'm going to do is drill some holes where I want to put the mounting points along here, and then take this sheet of ply off, and then I'm going to use riv nuts. I'm going to put some riv nuts in there and put my battens across. So riv nuts through the batten, through the ply, and into the metal behind. So you might be thinking, why am I putting overhead lockers up there now when there's so much other stuff to do beforehand? Well, the answer is I've got all these cables lying around. None of my electrics is all, the electrical stuff is all there, but it's not finished or wired up, and I want to get some of those all tidied up, and all of the control panels, switches, etc. are all going to be at the end of this overhead locker, at the end of it on this side. So come around this side. So the end of the overhead locker is going to be here, and then on that is going to be there's going to be a few gauges and switches and fuse box and etc. All that sort of stuff is all going to be there. So I want to get cracking on with that and get all that tidied up, which is why I'm doing this now. So that's my battens on up there. Like I said, I've put riv nuts through and bolted it on, so that's good, solid, firm fixing base. Now what I've done is I've made up a little template to basically I've made a template of the side plates just to get an idea of the size, and also so I know exactly where to screw this one. So I've done these, so I can use those as a template, and then I can screw this into the ceiling. But when I was doing that, I've realized that this one is out about 1 centimeter further at the bottom. Now I think, in fact I know, the reason for that is because the van tapers in, it bulges in the middle slightly, so it tapers in towards the front. So that is throwing all this out. So although this one and that one are both identical size, I'm going to have to cut that one down, sort of take 1 centimeter or so off it, just to get them perfectly in line. So that's right up against the wall there. But the distance from there to there is more than the distance from there to there. Problems. So I've transferred the template that I've used onto a proper sheet of ply, and I'm going to screw those in now. Now I'm only going to put them in on a couple of screws just to hold them in place, just so I can get measurements for everything. I can make sure everything else is all bang on. So I'm just going to put those in just with a couple of screws, and yeah, and we can take it from there then. All right, so I'm doing the door next. I've had these hinges from an old project I was doing in the house. I put in some cupboards up in the house. I had a number of these hinges left over, so I'm using those. They're quite good because they're quite, they hold the door open, which is really handy. Now I've just used a scrap piece of wood here, just to check to make sure everything fits okay, and it opens okay, and it does to a certain extent. I probably need to shave a few mil off either side just to let it open and close a bit easier. So what I'll do now is I'll take this off, and the holes I've got here for the hinge, I'll drill through those and then mark the new piece of wood with those holes, so I get them exactly in the same spot. So hopefully it'll line up perfectly like that. And then I've made the base plate. The bottom of will go, well, it will fit in. Hard to do this and holding the camera at the same time. That'll fit in. If I can do it one-handed, there we are. It will squeeze in there. Obviously the door will come down to there. This bottom part of the cabinet obviously needs to be secured on ever so well, otherwise everything can go belly shaped very quickly. So with that in mind, making sure that's done, that's in very well, so I can put 2 screws or a few screws in underneath there to hold it up underneath there. I'll probably put a couple of screws to the sides down here into the side of that. This is going to be covered with the same sort of stuff as this, so it'll hide the screws. But what I might also do is just make a sort of like a divider here in the middle, same shape as this more or less in the middle, and then that'll just give it another something else then just to screw up into underneath to give it just a bit more strength. Yeah, so I've got an hour or two now this morning that I can get all that done in, so I need to get cracking on and get that done. Right, so I've put the base plate on, the bottom of the cupboard. Just put a couple of screws in there just to hold it in their place while I measure everything up. Now, like I said, this is only just a sacrificial piece, just to check the hinges and make sure everything's okay. So I was going to cut another piece out the whole length, but what I'm thinking what I might do is just put a lip across the bottom here, which will be fixed in place. So have that lip and the opening sort of meet around here on my finger, is that sort of area. So nothing gets moved or nothing falls out of the cupboard or anything like that then. I think I might do that, and then I'll have, when I cover it all with vinyl or whatever, I can have maybe a slightly two-tone sort of pattern, maybe something on the top bit and then something different along here with the natural opening between the two of them, with some tea trim on both sides, which will just be a nice separation then. So I think I might do that. So I might actually do the top. I think I might even do the top cupboard the very same size as this one. Just like I said, just maybe trim a little bit off the edges, just so it opens a bit easier, and have a bottom piece here to meet that. That's what I'll do. I knew what I wanted to do, but I'm open to changing things ever so slightly, which is why I put the templates and things on. This isn't screwed in properly because I need to take this off to put, I've got a battery level, I've got the water tanks level there as well, and I'm going to have the light switches and things all on that side. So I'll be definitely taking that piece off again. The rest of it I could more or less fix in place properly now once I do this front door. So all these different parts now of the cupboard, I'm just going to paint them. I'll paint the inside of them. I'm going to put some vinyl over that, like the cupboard front door, and a few bits of that on the side panel, things like that. But yeah, I'm just going to paint them all in this grey colour. So like the inside and the bit along the bottom as well. All right, now I've got a little bit of a dilemma. So the front door on this cupboard is going to be here, and I'm going to cover it with this vinyl like what I've done on this wall here. There's going to be a similar wall to that here, which is going to come sort of that sort of shape. Now all that, the pattern is all working downways. Now if I go downways on this cupboard door, it's not going to go across the whole way, so there's going to have to be a join in the middle, which isn't ideal. So the best way to do it would be do it that way. But then if I do it lengthways, everything else is going downways, and that's going to be lengthways. It might look a bit odd. If I do this lengthways as well, there's going to be a little join in the middle. I did think what I could do is maybe do 2 separate doors, then the join would be hidden in the middle, but then I've got to have extra hinges and a lot of extra work and more hassle, which I really don't need. Yeah, so not really sure which way to do this. I think what I'll do is I think I'll have to do it with the pattern downways as well, and just try and hide the join as best I can. Hopefully it should be okay. There's if I spin the camera around, there's a join. There's a join along there, which I think I've hidden quite well. So you can see the pattern is slightly different there. Zoom in a little bit so you can see. The pattern is very slightly different. So, but I've hidden that join sort of quite well. So I might be able to hide the join. This vinyl covering I got from B&Q. It's I think it's £12 a sheet, which is a couple of meters long. It really is great for covering this sort of thing. It does work very well. You do need to make sure. I thought it was all clean. Is that all clean? Yeah, and I've already wiped this down with white spirits to give it all a really good clean down. I've sanded down the edges. There was a little bit of overpaint on them. And then it simply is just a case of peeling it back in the corners. He says, like, it's the simplest thing to do. Is that straight? Yeah. And push out any air bubbles, but to be honest, you don't really get any air bubbles really. You just pull it out bit by bit, and as you need to make sure you're all right. You see now, see the trajectory I'm going on there. I'm going to go all skewed off here, so you just need to get your trajectory right to start with. So let's just unpeel that. It'll stick good. Now, that's better. That's better. Right. So make sure that's stuck down good and tight. And just as you peel it back, just make sure you get no creases, no air bubbles. If you do, it's reasonably easy just to lift it up again and go back a little bit. And afterwards, what I normally do is I go over it with the heat gun, just to make sure it's properly stuck down. If you've got lots of little edges and lots of corners, it really does stick it down good and tight. But you know, in this heat, it must be 30 degrees today, or close to that. I don't know if I need to get the hot air going out. So with a brand new blade, now a brand new blade, not a blade that you've used to chop up loads of carpet with or cut loads of carpet. A new blade, just get it started there. And try and go across in one smooth motion. All right, now this is a tricky part. Trying to get that butted up against that absolutely perfectly. I think as far as the pattern goes, it blends in quite well. Even just the tiniest little bit out, and you can notice. There we are, I think that might. There we are, I don't think that's too bad. You can't really see the join. The join is, for reference, I'm not even sure now. I feel it there, it's around there. Now all I need now is just to put on this last bit of T-trim. I'm putting this bit of trim up next. I'm gonna get black vinyls put over that. But before I put the vinyl on, I want to screw it in, and then the vinyl then will cover the screws. So I'm just laying out everything on here on the end panel. This is where I'm going to put everything. So I've got my water gauges for the water tanks, battery monitor, max air fan controls. This will be the main switch for the main lights, the dimmer switch, and then some extra. This might be a little bit overkill. I might not need all of these. I certainly need 3 or 4 of them, but I thought I'll get one of these big ones anyway, and then if I need any extra switches, they're all there anyway. So yeah, so just need to mark up all of those, drill holes for them, and get all them connected now. So that's those holes cut out. Now what I'm going to do is just put on this bit of vinyl. If I can, it's getting really stormy out here. The wind's really picked up. There's big black clouds around everywhere. The wind's really picked up. So it's making it a bit difficult. Let's just get the top bit started here. So with the trim on, just going to put a bit of edging around there. Right, so it's almost dark now, but hopefully you can see the finished thingy there. If I can get it to sit back in there where it's meant to go. There we are. That's the jobby. I think. No, it's not. That's it there. Okay. Where's my drill gun? There it is. Let's put those. There's a couple of pocket holes back in there just to hold it in place. Oh, there's one up there. So anyway, there we have it. Sorry for the poor light at the moment. Like I said, it is getting dark. But you can see it there. I've redone the door better. I need to sort out. I've started doing the fuses and things in there. I need to put some struts, some gas struts on here just to keep it open. I'll put another blanking plate, something like this. I'll put it up against that to keep all those wires in there. And the fuse box and thing here, I'll put something in front of that as well, just to protect all of those. And I'll put a little knob on there, but I'll wait until I do the rest of the kitchen, because I haven't decided what I'm going to use there, what sort of latch I'm going to use. I'm going to match it to the rest of the kitchen, obviously. So yeah, so there we are. There's my top cupboard done. Thanks for watching. Hope this was useful and you maybe got a few ideas of what not to do. Okay, right, thanks. Bye for now.